أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء وخاتم المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين واللعنة الدائمة الباقية على أعدائهم من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين. صلوات پڑھنے پر The blessings of the month of Ramadan is gone. I don't know it was Ramadan or Iftar, but anyway, inshallah, we'll have to. I'm here again for the first Thursday of the month, keeping in mind that we just had the majlis for the wafat of our sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. Would like to briefly talk about one or two incidents from his life in context of some of the issues that we see within the Shia community. We have to realize that, individually or as a community, life is not without challenges. Sometimes we get very much, overwhelmed and we say, why is it happening? We have to realize that the fitna, challenges, opposition, deviation has been there all the time. Sometimes it is more, sometimes it is less. But we have to just always make sure that we know what is the right path and maintain our path in a steadfast manner. One of the issues these days we hear quite a lot from different circles and with different backgrounds and different motives is this whole issue of, the issue of Taqlid and Ijtihad. It's being presented as this is a new bid'ah. They say, this didn't exist more than 200 years ago. And this is, something which has been invented by the ulama in order to control the community and things like that. And this is where we had to realize that, we had to go back to the era of the A'imma alayhimus salam and look at, how they prepared the community for the future. And one of the important names that we have is, of course, is the name of Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wasalam. His impact in the Shia history is so important that we do not only call ourselves Shia, we call ourselves as Ja'fari. And this is across the board. It's not an issue of, people from India, Pakistan do that. No, whether you are Afghani, Irani, Iraqi, Lebanese, Saudi, all Shias identify themselves as Shia and Ja'fari. Especially when it comes to our fiqh, jurisprudence, it exclusively is known as fiqh Ja'fari. You rarely hear the term, fiqh Shi'i, or fiqh Alawi, or fiqh Mahdawi. No, it always is being described as fiqh Ja'fari. And the reason is because of his unique situation at the time, because Imam, if you look at his life, especially when he became, basically his life spans for about 65 years of the time, and the 34 years was the time of his imamat. Now 34 years of the imamat can be almost, exactly be divided into half and a half, where the 18 years of the last days of Banu Umayyah. This was the first part of the imamat of the sixth Imam, and the last 16 years of the Imams was during the early days of Banu Abbas. It was during that time of this change where the Banu Umayyah were becoming weaker and weaker and weaker, and Banu Abbas emerged, but it took them some time to consolidate their power. And in that gap, in between the downfall of Banu Umayyah, emergence of Banu Abbas, this is where they didn't have time to really focus on the Imam. As we sometimes we see in the du'as of the Imams where it says, Allahumma shghal al-zalim bil-zalim. Or Allah, keep one zalim busy with the other zalim. So it was, Banu Abbas, busy with Banu Umayyah or the other way around. So then the righteous people, the good people are relaxed because there is no much attention on them. And it was that time that Imam got this, relatively speaking, more free era of freedom to basically share his vast knowledge with Muslims and non-Muslims alike. One of the important things that we have to know, especially in this context of this controversies being raised among some circles of the Shias out of ignorance. Those who speak about it are really totally ignorant about the reality of history. Is that when you look at the era of the Prophet or even Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imams al-Abidin, all the way to the 11th Imam's time, you will see that all these Imams and even the Prophet had ashab and companions. But the companions were not of the same level. Vast majority were just companions and followers. They were the what do we call the lay audience, the lay people. But there were some among the companions who were very close to the Imams of their times, where they spent time learning from the Imam and be trained by the Imam. And the difference is that when a layman would come to an Imam and ask a question, this is my situation, what do I do? Imam will just say, okay, do this and that. Very the way that you get the answer from the Maraji. You ask a question, they say, okay, this is what you should do. But then there are some companions who actually, when they ask questions, Imam does not only say what you do, he actually explains to them. And then there will be a follow-up question. Imam, why? What is the basis for it? And this is where Imam goes into more, details of explaining the evidence or the dalil for their statement in order to not only educate but also train those companions. So there was a smaller group of companions with all the Imams who were not just, simply followers of the Imams. They were actually scholars, ulama, trained by the Imams during the days of the Imams. And the important thing is that we see that, there are many examples from the 6th Imam time, 7th Imam, 8th Imam, 9th Imam, where since the Shias were, spread around in different countries, different cities, not all of them had easy access to the Imams. Of course, there was no telephone, no internet, nothing, And so for many of them, to see the Imam would be probably a once-in-a-lifetime event. If they went for ziyarat or hajj, for example. There were others, of course, those who were closer to the Imam, especially the ulama among them, they would have more frequent visits if they are from far away. And so many Shias would go to the Imam, whether it's the 6th Imam or 7th or 8th or 9th, and they will ask the Imam that sometimes we find ourselves in situations that we don't know the ruling. What do we do at that time? We don't have access to you that easily. We cannot come to Medina all the time. And this is where it's interesting, not one, two, many, many examples, where the Imams at that time will say, you come from Qom, why don't you go to this person? Zakaria bin Adam, for example. He is of your region. Go to him because he knows our ilm. He has been trained by us. And so there are many, many examples where we see that the Imams ask their own followers to go and refer to the ulama among them while the Masoom is alive and present, not ghaib. So this issue of, referring to the more learned person, asking a less learned person to go and refer and seek guidance from more learned, reliable, that's main thing. That they should be from the community, they should be familiar with the ulum and the knowledge of the Ahlul Bayt, and they should be, trustworthy, reliable, character-wise. And this is, okay, you might not find the word taqlid, but this is the idea. This is the idea. What does taqlid mean? Taqlid means that a person who doesn't know, he refers to somebody who knows. So if somebody is, arguing about the words, find me the exact word of taqlid or ijtihad, yes, these words maybe were invented later on. But the idea and the practice, not only the idea, the practice existed even during the days of the Imams alayhi salatu wasalam. Salawat. When it comes to the example of the sixth Imam, in his circle of these the close companions, whom we call the ulama of that time, they were actually trained for different subjects. Not everybody was on the same level like others. They were all ulama in their own rights, but everybody had their own expertise. For example, there is very interesting, one of the earlier books on ilm rijal. This is a science where you have the biography of the companions of the Imams. You have to study that before you can even accept a hadith, because you have to know the background of the narrators of hadith, whether they were learned, authentic, or not authentic, reliable people or not. So ilm rijal is a very important science, and this is one of the earliest books which was written soon after the Ghaibat Kubra started is a Rijal of Kashri, where he has, through his own narration, goes all the way to Hisham bin Salim. Hisham bin Salim was a companion of our sixth Imam, and he narrates a very interesting incident, and this is probably only one that we know. There must have been many, many other examples like that. He says that one day we and our group, these close companions, we were sitting with the Imam. فَوَرَدَ رَجُلٌ مِنْ أَهْلِ الشَّامِ. A person came from Sham to visit the Imam in Medina. So he asked for permission to come in, and Imam gave him the permission to come in. When he came in, he did the salam, and so Imam responded and said, "Sit down." Then Imam turned to him and he said, "لَوْ حَاجَةٌ أَيُّهَا الرَّجُلُ." Gentleman, you have, what is your request or your need? What is it? This fellow from Sham, and obviously by his question it's very clear that he was not a Shia at that time. He says, بَلَغَنِي أَنَّكَ عَالِمٌ بِكُلِّ مَا تُسْأَلْ عَنْهُ. I have been told that you are an alim, you are a scholar, about whatever question that people ask, you will respond to it. فَصِرْتُ إِلَيْكَ لَأُنَاظِرُكَ. So I have decided to come here to debate with you. Look at the audacity of this fellow, Because I heard that you are a very great alim, I want to debate you. فقال أبو عبد الله عليه السلام في ماذا. Then Imam asked him, "You want to debate me on which subject? What is the subject of your topic?" قال في القرآن وقطعه وإسكانه وخفضه ونصبه ورفعه. He says, I want to debate you on the issue of Quran, especially the rules of recitation, ilm tajweed, as we call it. Where do you have sakin? Where do you have fatha, kasra, where you stop, where you continue? Imam looked at one of his companions and he says, Ya Hamran, dunaka rajul. Oh Hamran, you deal with him. Now this man says, إِنَّمَا أُرِيدُكَ أَنْتَ لَا Hamran. I want to debate with you, not with him, with Hamran. And look at the words of the Imam. Imam says to him, إِنْ غَلَبْتَ حَمْرَانَ فَقَدْ غَلَبْتَنِي. If you are able to defeat him, then you have defeated me. Means the teacher has so much confidence in the knowledge and expertise of his student that Imam is saying, you defeat him, it's like you have defeated me. And so he turned to Hamran, started to ask questions. Hamran started answering until they came to the conclusion. And so Imam turned to him and he said, كيف رأيت يا شامي? How did you find my student here? He says, رأيته حاذقا. I found him to be very, very smart. I didn't ask any question, but that he was able to answer that. And so now Imam said, Hamran, now it's your turn. You ask him questions. If you want to have a debate, okay, let's be on the same side here. So Hamran started, then asking questions on the same topic until he was able to, basically make him quiet. Then the Shami, the Syrian guy, said, أريد يا أبا عبد الله أناظرك في العربية. He says, I want to now have a debate with you on the Arabic language. That was ilm tajweed, how to read the Quran. Imam now turns to somebody else. Ya Aban bin Taqlid Nadhiruhu. This is important. In the first question he referred to Hamran. And the second one he says Aban bin Tabligh. And this is where, same situation happened like Hamran. Then he says, I want to have a debate on fiqh. Islamic laws, jurisprudence. Imam says, Ya Zurara Nadhiruhu. Now Imam turns to a third student of his, Zurara bin Ayun, a very prominent companion of the 5th and the 6th Imam. He and his brother and his own entire family, Ala Zurara, are known to be very good scholars of the days of the Imams. And the same situation here. Zurara was able to defeat this fellow. Then he says, أريد أن أناظرك في الكلام. I would like to have a debate on theology. In the issues of aqidah, beliefs. Now Imam turns to another one. Ya Mu'min al-Taq Nadhiruhu. One of the companions of the Imam was known as Mu'min al-Taq. He was known to be a specialist in theology, trained by the Imam. Same situation happens. Now then he goes to a very specific issue in theology. Whether, when we do things, it is because of our own power or is it the power of Allah? What is the role of Allah in human being when things happen or when they do things? And it's a very complex issue. So he says, I would like to do munadhara fil istita'a. Istita'a means ability. And now Imam turns not again to Mu'min al-Taq, who was a theologian by his speciality. Imam actually refers to another one. He says to the Tayyar, kallimuhu fiha. You talk with him on this issue. Then he says, I would like to discuss the issue of Tawheed. And now Imam turns to Hisham bin Salim, who is the narrator of this event. He was there. And he asked Hisham bin Salim to debate with this fellow on the issue of Tawheed. And finally he says, I would like to discuss with you the issue of Imamat. And Imam now turns to Hisham bin Hakam, a very prominent Sahabi of the Imam. Again, a theologian specializing in Imamat. And he also went through this whole process. At the end, فَبَقِيَ يَضْحَكُ أَبُو عَبْدِ اللَّهِ حَتَّى بَدَى نَوَاجِدُهُ. When his questions ended, he had no more questions and no more requests for any debate or discussion. Imam started smiling until his teeth were obvious and seen. And so he said to the people, this fellow from Sham, كأنك أردت أن تخبرني أن في شيعتك مثل هؤلاء الرجال. When Imam then looked at him, what do you have to say? He said, by not debating me yourself, you wanted me to debate with these people. You wanted probably to let me know that among your Shia, there are learned people like these. And Imam said, yes, that was the reason. And now, this is again, it's important that the Ma'soom is present. He's there. Yet on this issue, he is saying, okay, go and ask for so and so. And then, Imam then talks about this issue that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent the Anbiya and the A'imma in order to help the people to differentiate between Haqq and Batil. The human beings have been given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the ability to know Haqq and Batil, but there is a lot of confusion and mixture, and the role of the Nabi or the Imam is to separate that and to clarify things for that. This is where we have this belief of what is known as Hujjat Batini and Hujjat Zahiri. That Allah has given us some, ability to understand Haqq and Batil in our nature, but then the Imams are there to actually direct us on the right path. And so this is where at the end, this fellow from Sham says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ جَالَسَكَ. Indeed, those who have been your companion and those who sit in your company, they are indeed the successful ones. And then now this is the important part. He says, اجعلني من شيعتك وعلمني. That now I request you to include me among your Shias and give me your knowledge and ilm. Salawat. And this is where, now Imam turns to Hisham. He assigns this fellow to Hisham as his responsibility. And Imam says, Ya Hisham, علمه فإني أحب أن يكون تلميذا لك. That, oh Hisham, you educate him, you teach him, because I'm pleased to see him as your student. And this is where we come to realize this issue of, referring a less learned person to a more learned person, which is the meaning of Taqlid. This is the seerah and the practice of the Imams themselves during their own time. Salawat. And this is where we see that, according to the narration of some of the companions, it says we used to see, even after the wafat of the sixth Imam, we used to see this fellow from Sham frequently, visiting Hisham. And whenever he would come or his relatives will come, they would have, souvenir or gifts from Sham. He will give it to Hisham. Hisham also was from Ahl Iraq. So things he would get from Iraq, he will, gift it to this person. And so the point that I wanted to mention here is that, this process of training the special companions to become the ulama during the era of the presence of the Imam, Huzur Imam ke zamane mein. This is a very important point. That the Masoom is Hazir, but not all Shias have access to him. And so they are being told that go and refer to those ulama who are reliable and trustworthy among us. If that is the case in the case of the huzur of the Imam, what will happen in the ghaibat of the Imam? That will be the norm. And this has been there from day one till now. Whether you look for, the word taqlid or not, or ijtihad or not, these are the words that we have now just defined to make that concept, which was an old concept, very simple. It is just like, you're going to ask any Shia, what is Usuluddin? Every Shia, man, woman, child, everybody knows. Usul Din and Furu Din. Show me any hadith which defines this as Usul Din. Show me a single hadith of the Masum where they say Usul Din are 5. Or Furu Din are 10. The word Usul Din has been invented by the ulama to explain that these are the roots of our religion. This is the foundation of our religion. What are the foundation of our religion? Tawheed, Adl, Nubuwwat, Imamat and Qiyamat. Tawheed you will see in Hadith and Quran. Adl you will see in Quran and Hadith. Nubuwwat you will find in Quran and Hadith. Imamat you will see in Quran and Hadith. Qiyamat you will see in the Quran and Hadith. But the term Usul Din is not there. So somebody comes and say, oh, Usul Din, oh, ulama invented it, this is something new. No, this term has just been used to explain the importance of these 5 concepts which are the most early and the original concept of Deen. So sometimes, people get confused, oh, Taqlid, it wasn't there during those days. Well, the practice was there, the concept was there. It is a very commonsensical issue even before Islam. Somebody who didn't know, wanted to, build a house, didn't know how to build a house, what will he do? He will go and ask somebody who knows how to build. So even before Islam, this is a very nonsensical, commonsensical issue. So you don't go after these words, and this is where they confuse people and say, oh, this is all new things invented by the ulama. No. This is part of the seerah of the Ahlul Bayt, alayhi salatu wasalam. Salawat. Where are salawat? The last years of the life of our Imam, Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salam, was during the time of Mansur. And Mansur was a very brutal Khulafa of Banu Abbas, and he has this special hatred against Ali and Ali. He killed, many Sadat at that time, especially from the Hassani line. And there was a reason for it, because the descendants of Imam Hassan actually sided with Banu Abbas in, this revolution to overthrow Banu Umayyah. Whereas Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq had told them that, the motives of Banu Abbas are not that pure. Don't be involved with that. It's not that they liked Banu Umayyah or they supported them. No, the Imam was saying that, these people are using your name. Because they used to say, we are fighting in the name of the Ahlul Bayt. And to get this legitimacy of their movement, they had this descendants of Imam Hassan with them. And they used to say actually, that we are fighting for the haqq of Ali Muhammad. But when the time came to basically grab the power, they took it in their own hands and kept the Ali Hassan on the side. Not only on the side, now they realize, well, they can be the biggest threat for us. Because they were our partners in this movement, and their name was used as a source of legitimacy. And this is where we see they started eliminating them. The reason why you see, for example, Hassani Sadat all the way from during the Banu Abbas time, this is even before the Ghaibat Kubra, you will see the presence of Hassani Sadat in Sindh, which is Karachi, that area now. On the east, and on the west, you go all the way to Morocco. The reason why the Hassani Sadat were dispersed was because they were running away from the zulm of Banu Abbas. So the hatred was there against the Ali in the heart of Mansur, but more especially against the Ali Hassan. So even if you look at, for example, the king of Morocco, they are all descendants of Imam Hassan. And they all come from the The earliest Muslim rulers in that area was the Idrisi. Idrisi were basically the descendants of Imam Hassan, who had gone and settled down, and they are the one who brought about the conversion. Unfortunately, Shiaism was there during the early days, but later on things changed, and because of taqiyya, they basically are no more Shias. I actually know a Sayyid Hassani Sunni alim in Toronto, studied in Egypt, who actually in a gathering we had with the Shia Sunni ulama, where he stood up and said, my ancestors were Shia. But somewhere in the line, because of taqiyya, we have moved away. And so this is where, just to give you an idea of how, Mansur was actively going after the Ali. Imam actually used to refrain from political leaders, the sixth Imam. And Mansur once wrote a letter, and Mansur is basically now in this area in Iraq, in Baghdad, where he says, why don't you come to me and visit me like people do that? Many prominent people and scholars also come and visit me. Imam wrote to him a very interesting answer, and this is really applicable to us also, even now, where he says, لَيْسَ لَنَا مَا نَخَافُكَ مِنْ عَجْلِهِ. Imam says, I really don't have anything as far as worldly power or wealth is concerned that we would be afraid about it regarding you, that you might come and take it from us. وَلَا عِنْدَكَ مِنْ عَمْرِ الْآخِرَةِ مَا نَرْجُوكَ. And on the other hand, you don't have anything about the akhirah that we would have any hope to get it from you. So there is no reason for me to come and, see you. So then he wrote again. Mansur wrote the letter again, where he says, تُصْحِبُنَا لِتُنْصِحُنَا. Why don't you be in my company to counsel and advise me? So this becomes Amr bil Ma'ruf, huh? It's wajib now to go. Imam responded to him by saying, Man arada dunya la yunsihuka. Somebody who seeks the dunya will never give you the advice. They will just praise you. وَمَنْ أَرَادَ الْآخِرَةَ لَا يُصْحِبُكَ. And somebody who seeks the akhirah will not be in your company. So there is no point for me to, come to you. But then, this is how then they put the pressure and force, and this is where we see the 7th Imam, 8th Imam, all the Imams in Samarra, for example, they were all kind of forced in a way to come and live in those areas closer to the Khulafa. And this is where we see very interestingly that in one of the meetings that Imam had with Mansur, and this is a very simple story, but very, very powerful in its own way. They were sitting, and while, of course, he had his old servants and, those who were taking care of him, maybe, fanning everything. There's no electric fans those days. So his servants, using the fan, handheld fans. So while they were talking, there was a fly, Makhi, was coming, and again it would sit on the nose of Mansur. He will hit it, but it will run away, and again it will fly away, and again come. He became so irritated. He turned to the Imam and he says, why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this fly? And Imam uses the term, he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this fly to humiliate the tyrants. You have all the power, but this one small fly is bothering you and you cannot do anything. And this is where we have to realize that the seerah of our ulama has been, that when it comes to how do you relate to the rulers of your time, You're talking about the people who are not necessarily from our madhab, our deen, non-Muslims. You know, number the first option would be you stay away. The second option would be that, okay, if they are not zalim, they are adil, they are doing good for the people, then you are allowed to have limited interaction. But if they are obviously zalim, and you cannot have any, possibility of changing things for the betterment of the people, especially the Muslims, then you have to stay away and refrain from them. And one example I would like to describe here is the example of our own living marja, the Grand Ayatollah Sistani. You look at those of you who have visited him. He doesn't visit any political figure at all. It is the politicians who go and visit him. I remember a story I heard about Ayatollah Hakim. The tradition is akhlaq, that, normally we sit on the floors in the Middle East. So when a person comes in, out of respect, you stand up, for ihtaram. There's a story we're told that Ayatollah Hakim, was told that a minister of the government is coming to visit him. He didn't want to stand up for him. So he said, okay, I'm going inside. Bring him and make him sit, and then I'll come from inside to this room. So it will be the minister who will stand up as a courtesy to Ayatollah Hakim. So these are simple things, but this is where you have to keep in mind that, as a marja, as an alim on that level, you don't really give in to the political, figures. And when it comes to, the lifestyle of Ayatollah Sistani, you see he's a very simple man, lives in a very simple house. Even his demeanor is very, very humble when it comes to meeting the people. Yet he is more powerful than many presidents and prime ministers in the whole region. And when he says something, the people listen to it. We have seen so many very important, events after the downfall of Saddam in Iraq, that it was his word which became the final word for the people of Iraq. Especially, let me share with you the impression of the former Secretary General of the United Nations, Ban Ki-moon, who went to visit him on 24th of July in 2014. When he came out from the meeting and later on, he actually writes his impression of that meeting, a summary of what he felt about it. And it is there even now on the internet. If you go through, search, Ban Ki-moon's visit to Najaf. Number one, he says, he's writing that I'm extremely honored to meet His Eminence Grand Ayatollah Sistani today for the first time. He's a man of deepest wisdom and tolerance. He is an inspiration and a role model for many followers in Iraq and beyond. He said, we reviewed with him the current crisis in Iraq and the necessary humanitarian response. I express the United Nations gratitude for His eminent support for all efforts to protect civilians in the current conflict. We are talking about ISIS, what happened after that. He says that His Eminence underscored that the fight against the Islamic State and other armed groups should be exclusively conducted by the Iraqi security forces and only within the framework of the constitution. Although he is the one who gave this fatwa of, wajib kifai, for every, able-bodied Iraqi to stand up and fight against ISIS. But he made it clear that this will not be a parallel force, besides the army. They will work under the army because he didn't want any chaos in the system there. That there's a government within a government. No. And this is where he emphasizes this point. Then the Secretary General says, I expressed to His Eminence how deeply moved I was by his consistent calls for all sides to refrain from sectarian or ethnic rhetoric. He is the only one who actually was able to bring even the Sunnis and the Yazidis and the Christians, close with the majority Shias. I strongly welcome his crucially important appeal to all citizens to exercise the highest degree of restraint, to work on strengthening the bonds between each other and avoid any kind of behavior that may affect the unity of Iraq. In this time of crisis, when we see the shocking treatment of minorities by the ISIS, His Eminence continues to preach peace, love, and unity among all elements of Iraqi society. And he ends by saying, I encourage all religious authorities to follow that example and stand up for tolerance, mutual respect, and non-violence. And this is an outsider, a politician of the world level, talking about his impression of the Grand Ayatollah Sistani. Salawat padhne ke बाद. And he is just a very simple, a humble student of the school of Imam Jafar as-Sadiq in the house of Najaf. Salawat padhne ke बाद. ایک ہفتہ پہلے جو مناسبت تھی جناب امام جعفر صادق علیہ السلام کی، اسی کو ذہن میں رکھتے ہوئے کچھ باتیں ہم نے امام کے سیرت سے آپ کے سامنے پیش کرنا چاہ رہے تھے، تاکہ کچھ کنفیوژن جو ہم لوگ اکثر سنتے رہتے ہیں آج کل اخباریزم کے نام سے یا تقلید اور اجتہاد کے حوالے سے، کہ یہ سب چیزیں جو سامنے آتی ہیں یہ دلیل ہے کہ لوگوں نے سیرت اہل بیت کو صحیح معنوں میں نہ پڑھا ہے نہ سمجھا ہے. اگر صحیح معنوں میں سمجھتے تو یہ مسائل کبھی بھی سامنے نہیں آتے. امام جعفر صادق علیہ السلام نے اپنے زمانے میں جو کوشش کی ہے، یہ بہت ہی اہم پوائنٹ تھا ہمارے ہسٹری کے لیے، اس لیے کہ اسی زمانے میں سنی سکولز آف تھاٹس آہستہ آہستہ یہ روئے کار آ رہے تھے، اعتقاد کے اعتبار سے، فقہ کے اعتبار سے ان کے ویوز چونکہ اب مور سولیڈیفائڈ ہو رہے تھے، لہٰذا ضروری تھا امام کے لیے کہ اپنی کمیونٹی کو بھی ایک سولڈ بیس پر ان کو لے کے آئیں، تاکہ انہیں بھی اندازہ ہو کہ بھائی یہ نظریات اس ٹائپ کے ہیں اور ہمارے نظریات کچھ اور ہیں. اور یہ کلیئرٹی جو ہم لوگ دیکھ رہے ہیں، بہت سی چیزیں جو ہمارے مذہب میں ہیں، یہ آئی ہے در حقیقت امام جعفر صادق علیہ السلام کے بیانات اور احادیث سے. صلوات پڑھنے کے بعد ناصبی بہرحال تھے ہمیشہ سے، جو دشمن اہل بیت جو بغض رکھتے تھے امیر المومنین کے سلسلے میں. لیکن ایک اور بھی پرابلم ہمیشہ ائمہ کے زمانے میں تھا، انکلوڈنگ امام جعفر صادق علیہ السلام کے زمانے میں، وہ گروپ جسے ہم لوگ غالی کہتے ہیں، کہ جو اہل بیت اور رسول کو ان کے جو مرتبہ ہے اس سے بھی بڑھا دیتے تھے، کہ بھائی یہی خالق ہیں، یہی رازق ہیں، یہی سب کچھ ہے، خدا ہے ہی نہیں، یا اگر ہے بھی تو وہ ریٹائر ہو چکا ہے. That's how they basically put it. Words ہمارے ہیں لیکن this is what they mean، کہ اب خدا سے کوئی مطلب نہیں ہے، یہی ہیں جو کچھ ہیں. تو یہ ایشوز کوئی نئے نہیں ہیں، امام کے زمانے میں بھی تھے. مغیرہ ایک امام کے کمپینین میں تھا، اور پھر وہ منحرف ہو گیا، غلو کی باتیں اس نے شروع کی، یہاں تک کہ امام نے اس پر لعنت کی ہے. تو لہٰذا ہمیں ان باتوں کو دیکھنا چاہیے. بہت سے ایسے گروپ تھے ان میں سے کہ جو مرتے وقت کہتے ہیں کہ ہم جو ہمارے ساتھ امام نے کیا ہے، جو لعنت کی ہے، ہم وہ اپنی جگہ پہ ہیں، لیکن ہم نے اتنی جعلی حدیثیں چھوڑی ہے کہ قوم جو ہے پریشان رہے گی. اس لیے اس میں حدیث کو سمجھنے میں بھی اسپیشلائزیشن کی ضرورت ہوتی ہے، تاکہ انسان جو ہے صحیح اور غلط کو سمجھ سکیں. جہاں تک ایمان و عمل کی بات ہے، بھائی یہ بات صحیح ہے کہ جہاں تک جنت کا تعلق ہے وہ اس میں ایمان بنیادی شرط ہے، اگر ایمان نہیں ہے تو کچھ نہیں ہے. لیکن اس کا مطلب یہ نہیں ہے کہ انسان جو ہے لاپرواہ ہو جائے. ہم لوگ یہ نہیں کہتے ہیں کہ جنت ڈیپینڈ کرتی ہے عمل پر. ایمان از دی مین تھنگ، اس کی بنیاد پر پھر عمل ہے. لیکن اس طرح بھی نہیں ہے کہ ہم لوگ سوچ لیں کہ بھائی ہمارے پاس وہ چٹھی ہے امام کی، ہم جو کچھ کریں گے کوئی بات نہیں ہے، ہمیں وہ پروانہ مل چکا ہے. اٹس ناٹ دیٹ ایزی. اور امام نے اسی بات کو، اس زمانے میں بھی اس ٹائپ کے افکار تھے، بیان کرنے کے لیے جو حدیثیں، جو وصیت بیان کی ہے. آخری وصیت پر ہم ختم کرنا چاہیں گے کہ جناب حمیدہ خاتون جو ساتویں امام کی والدہ ہیں، زوجہ ہیں امام ششم کی، ان سے امام فرماتے ہیں کہ گھر والوں کو جمع کرو، اور اطراف میں بھی جو ہمارے ماننے والے جو شیعہ ہیں ان کو بھی جمع کرو. اور اس کے بعد امام نے جو آخری وصیت کی اس میں ایک جملہ ہے، لا ینال شفاعتنا مستخفا بالصلاۃ. وہ انسان جو نماز کو کم سمجھتا ہے، اس کے خفت کا قائل ہے. تارک کی بات نہیں ہو رہی ہے، تارک الصلاۃ کی بات نہیں ہو رہی ہے، وہ جو نماز پڑھتے ہی نہیں ہے. بات ہو رہی ہے من استخف، جو نماز کو پٹ ڈاؤن کرے، اسے کم سمجھے. ہماری شفاعت اس تک نہیں پہنچے گی. شفاعت اہل بیت برحق ہے، لیکن آیا یہ شفاعت ہمیں شامل ہوگی یا نہیں، اس کے کچھ شرائط ہیں. اور اس میں سے ایک یہ ہے کہ انسان جو ہے نماز کو اہمیت دے. تو یہ باتیں ہیں جو خود امام نے آخری وقت میں جو بیان کی ہے. بلکہ ایک بار ابو بصیر جو امام کے بزرگ ایلڈرلی صحابہ میں سے تھے، امام کی وفات کے بعد غالباً اس وقت یہ تھے نہیں وہاں پر مدینہ میں، آئے ہیں اور جناب حمیدہ خاتون اور دوسرے گھر والوں کے سامنے پرسہ دینے کے لیے بیٹھے تھے. وہ اس وقت جناب حمیدہ نے اسی جملے کو بتایا کہ ابو بصیر کاش تم اس وقت ہوتے جہاں تم سنتے کہ تمہارے امام نے کیا کہا ہے. امام موسیٰ کاظم علیہ السلام کی خدمت میں صرف ایک جملہ ہم کہنا چاہیں گے کہ مولا آپ کی والدہ وہاں موجود تھیں کہ وہ آپ کے بابا کی آخری وصیت کو سن سکیں. آپ بھی وہاں موجود تھے، لیکن آپ اس امام کی زوجات کو یاد کریں کہ جو خیمے میں موجود تھی. امام کے اس بیٹے کو یاد کریں کہ جو خیمے میں موجود تھے. اور امام بہت دور نہیں تھے. اگر آپ مقتل اور خیمہ گاہ کے فاصلے کو دیکھیں بہت دور نہیں ہے. جو حضرات جا چکے ہیں زیارت کے لیے وہ جانتے ہیں کہ خیمہ گاہ کہاں ہے اور مقتل امام حسین کہاں ہے. جہاں حسین کو قتل کیا گیا تھا وہ بھی ایک مقام مشہور ہے. وہاں پہ فاصلہ اتنا نہیں تھا، لیکن وہاں ممکن نہیں تھا کہ جناب رباب جو ہیں اپنے شوہر کے بالین پہ جا سکیں، امام سجاد جو ہیں جا سکیں. بلکہ ایک بہن تھی جو بار بار بھائی کے انتظار میں بیٹھی رہی کہ آواز آئے، اس لیے کہ حسین نے زینب سے کہا تھا کہ اب ہم زیادہ دور نہیں جائیں گے، ہر حملے کے بعد مرکز پہ آ جائیں گے جو خیمے کے سامنے امام نے بنایا تھا، اور وہاں آ کے ہم لا حول ولا قوت الا باللہ العلی العظیم کا نعرہ بلند کریں گے. زینب جب تک یہ آواز آتی رہے سمجھنا کہ ہم زندہ ہیں. آواز جب بھی آتی تھی زینب کے اطمینان تھا بھائی زندہ ہے. سکینہ کو معلوم تھا کہ ابھی ہم یتیمہ نہیں ہوئے ہیں. جناب رباب کو معلوم تھا کہ ان کے سر پہ ابھی سایہ موجود ہے. لیکن جب بہت دیر ہو گئی آواز نہیں آئی، بہت دیر جب ہو چکی تھی، تب زینب نکلتی ہیں خیمے سے باہر. بھائی کہیں نظر نہیں آتے ہیں. آخر میں اس بلندی پہ جاتی ہے جسے تلِ زینبیہ کہا جاتا ہے. وہاں سے دیکھتی ہیں کہ بھائی زمین کربلا پر پڑے ہوئے ہیں اور شمر ملون کا منحوس زانو جو ہے حسین کے مقدس سینے پر ہے. اس میں ایک جملہ کہتی ہے، اے عمر ابن سعد تو دیکھتا رہے گا اور میرا بھائی قتل کر دیا جائے گا. اتنے میں ایک نیزہ بلند ہوا اور زینب نے بھائی کے سر کو نوک نیزے پر دیکھا. الا لعنۃ اللہ علی القوم الظالمین سیعلم الذین ظلموا ای منقلب ینقلبون. خداوند اس خلیل بات قبول فرما، ہمارے گناہ کو بخش دے، ہمارے توفیقات میں اضافہ فرما. خداوند شیعان علی جہاں بھی ہیں ان کو اپنے حفظ و امان میں رکھ. جتنی مختلف اور غلط افکار ادھر ادھر آ رہے ہیں، خداوندہ ان کو ہمیشہ ثابت قدم رکھ تاکہ اس راستے پہ چل سکے جو صحیح معنی میں محمد آل محمد کا راستہ ہے۔ جہاں جہاں شیعہ نالی ہیں، خداوندہ ان کو اپنے حفظ و امان میں رکھ، تکفیری افواج کی تمام صلاحیتوں کو نیست و نابود فرما، امام کے ظہور میں تعجیل فرما، ربنا تقبل منا انک انت السمیع العلیم۔